Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining the conversation, Building Enterprise AI Applications. My name is Carrie Williams. I'm the Communications Information Officer here at Extension. Joining today's conversation is Bipin Thomas, Carlos Davila, and Praveen Krishna. Unfortunately, AJ couldn't be here today, but we're looking forward to today's conversation. We will jump into the agenda. We're going to do brief introductions. Then we're going to give an overview of what's new in AI app development. We're going to take a closer look at the new courses launching this summer and later this fall. And then we have some QA at the very end. We've also built some QA into the middle of the session, so there'll be a chance to ask questions throughout. If you have any questions outside of those windows, go ahead and chime in via the chat. Jennifer, my colleague, and I are happy to answer them the best we can, or we'll surface them up to the panel to get you the information you need. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to Bipin Thomas. Bipin is president of ICURO, and he's an instructor and the founding chair of our AI program at Extension. Bipin, over to you.
Well, thank you, Carrie. Thanks so much for the introduction. Welcome all of you for this webinar on the enterprise AI application development. I'm really honored and privileged to be part of the UCSC extension in building and offering these series of programs. Recently, we had the opportunity to revamp on the entire course structure for the AI application development series. And this was done, as you can see, a very senior level of practitioners in enterprise AI. And these instructors comes with a background in managing the AI domain within their disciplines. So starting with Ajay Bondwal as the director for the Center for Deep Learning in Electronics Manufacturing and Semiconductor here in the Bay Area. And he comes with lots of experience in deep reinforcement learning and GANs. And so he would be the one that would really be teaching the GAN program. Carlos Davila is a key solution architect for a silicon company. They are building the next generation machine learning chips for AI workloads and AI processing. And he comes with that team and background from silicon to intelligence and also the enterprise capabilities and technical solutions that are necessary for enterprise AI to deliver such solutions. And he has helped orchestrate and author the enterprise AI application development capstone project. Next AI practitioner is Praveen Krishna, who is on the line with us on the video. Praveen is a platform architect with Intel locally here in Santa Clara. And he has been an instrumental person for a lot of the key processes in Intel end-to-end and for several of their series of AI pipeline development, and also has expertise in building such a pipeline from hardware all the way to the software solutions. So clearly has a lot of practitioner know-how to share with us in this capstone project of AI application development. We also have other instructors from the Bay Area, again, with a similar practitioner background, and you will see their names listed at the bottom of this slide. The overall structure for this specialization that we offer is in 3 modules. And the reason why we have structured this in 3 modules is to really walk you through as a student on the foundational skills that one has to acquire. And then what are the areas for specialization? And then how do you finally put it all together and demonstrate with a capstone project that you could now announce as something that you were able to accomplish to an enterprise job readiness system or a program that you're applying for. So from you start with the acquisition of skills from a foundational skills, it starts with the business of AI, which is more of a business-oriented program. And I teach that course that brings in how the business outcomes are being driven from an enterprise AI perspective down to some of the technologies and organizational structure that's necessary to execute an AI program in an enterprise. So they'll give you a very good organizational view how AI divisions are orchestrated within a large enterprise. The second one is more technical oriented, which is deep learning, machine learning techniques, and how to learn and apply TensorFlow and Keras as frameworks and also the technical learnings in applying Python for machine learning, Python libraries such as NumPy and Pandas, and being able to implement those for building machine learning frameworks and testing them and deploying them. So you'll learn the entire pipeline, right, from data management, data engineering, and the modeling, which is machine learning modeling, and the deployment of it. So you get a full end-to-end perspective of the technical know-how by doing projects in that particular course. From there, you could specialize in one of the areas in the specialization category. We have reinforcement learning, we have GANs, we have NLP, and also robotics. And so we have a variety of choices for the students to pick and choose depending on your interest levels in the program. You know, because some of you may look at, I want to focus more on reinforcement learning because that's one of the areas that are clearly expanding, and there's a lot of opportunities in the job market for reinforcement learning. And some of you may want to focus on NLP, natural language processing, which is using document management, which is applied for converting speech to text, text to speech, and several other forms of NLP implementations that you might have seen and heard that enterprises are hiring for. And some of you may be interested in robotics, where you use robotics for finding products in a shelf, use cases where you would want to use robotics for anomaly detection, for classification, for surveillance. So there's a lot of applications, or even pick and place in a manufacturing shop floor, and that all comes with machine learning implementations on a robot running on the floor, whether it's a warehouse robot or a shop floor or a manufacturing robot. So that course is really focused on building that machine learning program end to end and implementing it on a real robot. So at the lab, you would implement your machine learning program and test and see how it works in that environment. So you get an capability to specialize in those kind of areas. Then the last one is demonstration, and which is something that Praveen also will go more deep today in today's webinar. So just to touch upon it, it's basically taking the know-how from your foundational skills and the specialization skills, and then building an end-to-end capstone project. You'll be really doing a capstone project from the day one, because you should have the prerequisites of building machine learning programs using TensorFlow, Keras, building the Python-based libraries, Pandas for data pipeline. So doing all of that before, and then being able to put it all together in making a robust, scalable enterprise application, because enterprises are looking for people with experience to scale the application to deployment and production. Not for just building a framework or building a machine learning program, which is a thing of the past now. Now they're looking for people who can scale and grow these applications and having the robustness that's necessary. So Praveen will really go deep dive in today's webinar to give you an understanding of how that program is structured, so that you'll have at the end of the program a system that's working, that you can have it in your GitHub and demonstrate for your readiness to apply for a job, to apply for an enterprise position that you'd be interested in. So I want to go a little bit deep on the GAN specialization course, because it starts on 28th, 5 days from now, by Dr. Ajay Barnwal. And the reason I wanted to highlight this is a new specialization program that we've launched this year. And because there's a need for large enterprises looking for people with experience in this generative models. And this is one of the branches within machine learning techniques. And GANs are the frameworks that can be used for identifying loss functions in a manufacturing supply chain, value chain, or a supply chain program in a large enterprise. It can be used for even in computer vision, image processing. So there are multiple applications for applying GAN. So in this particular course, AJ will take you through how to even build a GAN framework using Python and libraries that you learn from the from the technical courses that you've taken, and then how to apply it in one or two use cases, and being able to take a image data set, a computer vision data set, and being able to apply that and get the outcome of that particular data set, and in seeing the error frameworks, how to adjust to those error frameworks, and being able to provide a learning outcome that you can apply this in an enterprise setting. So the purpose of this particular course is to bring you more deeper into variants of deep learning techniques, rather than just staying at a higher level of deep learning. Take you to the other course that I mentioned is on the reinforcement learning, and this one is specific to GAN, or which is a generative adversarial network type of neural nets. And then we also have similar ones for NLP. So with that, maybe I'll take a pause here and answer any questions you may have before we spend the rest of the time for going deep into the overall capstone project from Praveen's side.
Yes, hi. My name is Simon Simonian. I have one question. Can you?
Yes, Simon, please.
Hi. I have a question about a bit about the prerequisites, or I mean the foundational classes, the business of AI and the deep learning and AI with TensorFlow and Keras. Those are foundational, so they have to be taken obviously before the specialization classes. So can you let us know when those two classes are going to be offered? What are the dates? I mean, I could look at the catalog, but since we're on the line, I was wondering when those two classes will be offered.
Yeah, sure. Kerry, if we may go back to the slide. That is the one before. Yeah, this one. So Simon, the one that is really a prerequisite is a technical prerequisite, yeah? And that will be the deep learning and AI with TensorFlow and Keras.
Okay.
So as long as you can do that first, then you would be qualified to go into the specialization, and you can do the business of AI in parallel, because that's more business oriented. The technical would be very helpful for you to really understand the specialization courses and being very successful in those courses.
So the deep learning and AI, the second one on the left, is the real prerequisite that has to be done before the other.
That's correct. That's correct.
And the date, I see Jennifer posted it here. So it starts on July 8th. Okay, thank you.
There you go. Yeah.
And then the next one is on September.
Yeah, there's actually two for deep learning and artificial intelligence. So July and in September.
I see. Okay, great. Thank you.
So this is the essence of today's webinar, to get you more information around building integrated enterprise AI. And that enterprise is a very key word because of the fact that we are building this programs for enterprise job readiness. So with that, let me introduce you to Praveen Krishna, who will be providing the instruction and guidance for you in this capstone project.
Thanks, Bipin. This would be a hands-on capstone project, so you get to demonstrate or exercise all your skills you have gained so far in this program. And I will be guiding you through each step of how to consider your design parameters, or what your goals are with the project itself, from design considerations to how to build them, how to optimize the models, and how to train, and all those like through the flow and get the most accurate results in a given time frame, and then how to deploy them, and the opportunities to scale them in an enterprise environment. This would give you the most practical, close to what industry would be doing, and I would be drawing from my experiences at Intel, where I have been working on the audio stack, and part of it involves a lot of deep learning algorithms and models, and what kind of considerations we have, whether it's hardware constraints or software constraints. All those things go into these kinds of projects. So you will be getting a more in person, or I would say a first person experience in how these things happen in the industry. And yeah, I'll be there to guide you through all the steps, and even maintaining how certain once you're done with the deployment, what else is expected. And if you're part of a team which is basically working on deep learning projects, how you support your team members, and how you follow through even beyond deployment. There will be issues, so you have to maintain, or there's this part where you continuously improve your models by retraining, or at least partially retraining. So I will guide you through all those steps. So I think this would add a feather to your cap. I mean, you're gaining skills is great, theoretical especially. You'll have the foundational knowledge by the time you get to this class, but you'll also get to work on a project, and this can help you get an edge over competition, while you're applying for jobs. If you have a ready to demonstrate or exhibit a project that you have worked, which is really close to what a team does in an industry, you are more likely to have an advantage over your competition, like competitive candidates for that role. So this would be an essential class that you would like to consider. So that would be my 2 cents on this.
Thank you, Praveen. We can take any questions on that.
Yeah,
Praveen.
Yeah, any questions, please? Yeah,
I have a couple of questions. This is Simon again. Besides Python, do you expect any knowledge of any other programming languages, or is Python sufficient?
Python would be essential. C++, I think, would be a good choice. It depends on how deep you want to go. Like if you want to look into the frameworks, things like that can help. But I think Python would be more than enough, at least for the capstone project. It's good to have C++, I would say, because most of the frameworks would be in C++.
I see. Okay.
And I'm hoping by the time you get to this point, you will be very proficient with Python, because the foundational courses and the specialization would be completely Python based.
Okay. And so do you recommend taking separate Python, at least one introductory?
No, I think just
running into this, or?
No, I wouldn't say you need a separate class, because you don't have to be a Python expert. You just have to focus on the application of Python. So taking the foundational class that Bipin described earlier, and the specializations, whichever you're focused on, you can be prepared.
I
You'll
see.
be prepared for this project. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, my second question is about the type of application that can be built, through the capstone project.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're saying enterprise, AI-based enterprise application. For me, enterprise means, like CRM type of applications. I don't know, financial. Is it that type of application, or more, different ones?
I think you can pick and choose whichever domain or area of interest you have your project. Like you can make a proposal as part of the class. If you go back, look at I don't know if you have the slides. See, here are some of the projects you can pick from right from here. Is if you want to focus on robotics or deep reinforcement learning or natural language processing, which is like mostly audio domain. Or text to speech or speech to text. There are different applications for each of these specializations. So if you want to focus on a quarter length project on one of these topics, whichever interests you, whichever you want to get into after you're done with this project, I think you will have that freedom to pick. So I can put out some topics too as part of the class. Maybe initially I can suggest few examples, and students can pick and choose. I'm very familiar with reinforcement learning and natural language processing. That's my area of expertise. but image processing and other kinds of newer applications are out there, like financial data based models, or even medical these days has been because of pandemic or whatnot, like people have been focusing mostly on that side to have seen few good projects on that, and we can pick and choose some good data sets. I can help you with that, and this is all part of the project itself, I would say. Yeah, and it's all based on AWS, so it's a cloud environment, and I think 90+% of all the startups and small and even big enterprises use cloud based solutions these days for building their AI projects. So yeah, you will get a hands-on like how to use the AWS, and it's a good introduction, I would say, to the industry. Yeah.
I see. So the program makes use of AWS's machine learning tools, and
that's what I was that's the information I have so far. Yeah, at least that's why we put cloud based in the description.
Okay.
Bipin, can you confirm that it's AWS, right?
Yes. Yeah. So this every student will have an AWS account from UCSC Extension in order for them to build the Python notebooks and do the pipelining. The end-to-end from data engineering all the way to deployment will be on AWS stack. So that gives you also an experience of how enterprises manage that process, the full life cycle of enterprise application deployment. And secondly, the one more area to highlight is, as Praveen said, you get to pick the data set that you like, because understanding data is very important. So if you come with an image data set or a tabular data set from your financial background, or from your background in supply chain, or if you're working in healthcare, so you can bring that domain knowledge in order to pick a project, a proposal, and being able to form a team. So Praveen's thought process is to have a team of 2 or 3 people working together on an industry domain, on a data domain. So you'll be grouped into small teams, 2 to 3 people in each team, and work on this as a capstone project together.
I see. Okay.
And from my experience in the industry, I have in certain projects, I have spent half my time just cleaning up the data. So data set, picking the correct data set for your project is essential. Yeah, because garbage in, garbage out. You've probably heard of that. Any other questions, or we can go to
So one, I had a quick one. So in AWS, were you planning on actually using AWS services like SageMaker and or Recognition, right? Things like that, right? Or are we planning on just using the cloud resources for and using TensorFlow and things like that, right? So the libraries per se.
I think Bipin would be the
it's a ladder. It's a ladder, Ash. Thanks for asking. That's a good question, because if we use just the tools available on a cloud stack, then you're not really learning what goes inside, right? The purpose of learning is to really experience yourself in building that Python library and creating the engine, a machine learning engine, and also doing all the data pipeline, cleaning up the data, running it through, creating the training data set, test data set, and being able to see the error framework, how it evolves in meeting those accuracy requirements. If it is in an image data set, is image accuracy good enough to make decisions? If it is forecasting techniques you're developing, is the forecast accuracy good enough? So you really have to go through that full pipeline by building the algorithm yourself. So that's the reason. So it's basically, to answer your question, it is using cloud compute resources in order to demonstrate the complete life cycle of an enterprise process, and being able to deploy an integrated system at the end. And that will give you the full understanding of how it gets deployed as an application to enterprises using cloud compute resources.
Okay. But at the end of the day, I mean, when we actually do enterprise modeling and stuff, it probably would be on Amazon services, right? Or other cloud services.
Yeah.
Like Google, right? So
Yeah, AWS is the most popular these days in the industry, but there is Google and resources like GCP and also Azure. Azure is, I would say, second, more utilized than Google. So yeah, it depends on the firm or company or the team. Sometimes even team. I have seen that within a same company, different teams use different solutions or cloud resources or infrastructure. So yeah, it depends, but AWS is the most popular, and knowing just how to build and deploy your models and getting to the application, like the results from AWS would be good experience enough for most companies. Like 99% of them will be like, okay, AWS, how to build and how to use the resource online. And it's an easy switch from there. Like it's an easy transition to any cloud resource that a company or a team might use. So I would say, yeah, it's a good experience to have.
okay, thanks.
I might have missed it earlier. What are the specific prerequisites? I know we need to know Python. And there are varieties of Pythons. Pythons for AI is there. Python for say data intelligence or data analysis is there. Is there any specific stream of knowledge that we need to specialize in with Python? The other is you talked about C++. Is that a must?
No, it's not. It's good to have, because if you want to deep dive into frameworks, most of them are, it's good to have just how the flow is, like you have a better understanding, but Python is more than enough. And I think, Jennifer has pasted a course for Python for machine learning in the chat. Yeah, you can refer to that. That should be enough.
And just a couple of quick questions. The other is, do we need to know how much of AWS knowledge or any of the cloud knowledge that we need to have, Azure or AWS? Is it as a user?
Yes, I would say as a user. Yeah.
As a user, okay.
Yeah.
And just one more thing I had. Sorry, I forgot. If I remember, I'll ask that. That's okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and Oma, like I will be guiding you. It's not like, okay, go do this on AWS. I'll guide you through all the steps on AWS during the class.
The other is how much of, say, OR or stats knowledge is needed?
Can you repeat that? OR and tax knowledge?
Operations research or statistics knowledge is needed.
I think statistics is part of deep learning. So as part of the prerequisites, you will be exposed to at least some amount of statistics, and having some basics would help. Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. So Simon, you can go ahead.
Yeah. In fact, one of my questions was exactly what Uma asked. It's about statistics. How much knowledge of statistics?
So yeah, I'll talk about like my experience in the industry. I actually used to teach statistics at a college, like as a supplementary instructor when I was going to grad school. So I had that foundational statistics. Like even if you have the basic understanding, like stats 101, that is good to have. But I think most of the prerequisites will cover some amount of theory. I haven't taught any foundational courses here, and I haven't seen any recently. I have not gone through the syllabus, but I think some of the concepts do touch on some steps. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it will be covered with all the basics you need for this project, capstone project. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. My other question is about format. Like, do you expect students to come on site at on campus, or will the trainings be delivered, like today through Zoom?
I will be teaching this class remotely, but I think students will have that option.
I see.
Bipin, can you confirm that?
Yeah, we are proposing hybrid option, Simon. It also depends on the comfort of students and the instructors, whether they like to have it on a hybrid mode or do it all on Zoom. So we're pretty flexible, and what is needed, we will support. If some of the courses, depending upon the need, we do offer the hybrid versus completely online. But in this case, if it is building integrated enterprise applications, it's going to be Praveen is going to teach from remote. So Praveen would be on Zoom, and the students have the option of either coming to the campus or doing it on Zoom itself.
I see. Okay. Okay. And sorry, one more question. In terms of total number of classes that are expected to be taken for this program, is it a total of 4? Did I count correctly? 2 foundational, 1 specialization, and the last one. Is it 4 total?
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct, Simon. Yeah, precisely.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
All right, so Carrie, let's move on to the next slide since we are getting closer. Yeah, so this is another exciting news to share with all of you. We will have a separate webinar sometime in late July on this particular program that we are going to announce. This is nothing but it's an employer-guided experience. Our intent is to partner with the large employers here in the Bay Area and figure out what are their top requirements or the top job openings in those enterprises, starting from Python developers to data engineers, data scientists, machine learning engineers, computer vision engineers, deep learning engineers, architects, and so forth. So there's quite a number of roles that you can see advertised by these large employers in the Bay Area itself. So we are working on a collaborative effort with the large employers in order to prepare the students for that specific set of job openings. So if it is just data engineering, then only focus on that data engineering aspects. And if they're focused on Azure as a cloud compute platform, then focus on specific skills building in that Azure platform, whether it's Azure Data Factory, Azure Data Lake solution, or the big data side, and using any other tools like Databricks or Power BI for the front-end visualization. We would focus on the specialized tools for that particular large employer. So it's very much a collaborative effort with them, and we're still in the early stages of it. So keep an eye out for this. It'll come out soon. But again, all these programs that we were just announcing earlier are all will feed into this, because you got to have all this expertise, including a capstone project under your belt in order to be able to do this for a specific custom program for employers. And so all this would feed into this. That's why we are planning to announce this later in July, August timeframe, with the idea that we could prep the students with some employers in mind during the fall quarter. So there's more information that we're going to put out on the website, and also we'll hold another webinar in July. And so keep an eye out for it. And we're super excited about this very unique program, one of its kind ever done. And so we're pretty excited about making the formal announcements soon. So keep an eye for that. Carrie, next slide is for a wrap-up slide.
But are there any last questions anyone didn't get a chance to address or bring up? You can always email us too at extension@ucsc.edu. If you think of something later, we're always here.
Sorry, I do have one last question.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So like if one wants to go through this program, does it require submitting a formal request to be enrolled in the program, or is it about enrolling in each class one after the other, and at the end one would get I don't know, do you provide a certificate at the end, or how does it work?
Yes, we do have a digital badge that we give for everyone who completes a specialization within a certain time frame. The time frame is something like you have to complete the classes in 3 years, I think. But this program is only 6 to 9 months, so that should be doable. And there is a separate digital badge for the new Practicum program as well, but that's just a course badge, so it's not a certificate per se.
Okay.
There is no formal application process, really. We just ask you that you pay attention to either taking a prerequisite that's suggested or having the necessary experience. You don't necessarily have to take the prerequisite, but you do need to have just to keep up with the pace of the class.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone here for joining us. A huge thank you to Bipin and Praveen for sharing your expertise and insights. Again, if you think of anything later, we're always here at extension.ucsc.edu. If you want to continue the conversation, as was mentioned before, we do have another AI event coming up next week. That's going to be June 29th, which I believe is Wednesday at 6 p.m. We'll say goodbye. Have a good afternoon, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.